The ASX 200 rose nearly 5.5% in 7 days, but that run has come to an end today, with the energy and banking sectors doing the most damage. The banks following Westpac's $3.3 billion half-year profit, which was down 1% on the same time last year. A little weaker than expected as margins contracted. It will pay a slightly higher interim dividend. CEO Anthony Miller says customers have been resilient despite cost of living challenges, but that geopolitical uncertainty is a key risk. Despite trade policies impacting markets and bank funding, he added that Australia is well placed to handle the instability and welcome the weekend's election result, calling it a significant positive.
In the sense that the continuity, the consistency, the certainty that re-election delivers is quite profound, and it certainly sets us up and sets us apart from many other countries around the world, given the uncertainty.
Westpac says it expects national capital city home prices to rise over the next 2 years as interest rates fall from 4.1% to 3.35% this year and next. It added reported customer scam losses fell 19% over the half and had even stopped a $320 million transfer by a business customer who was deceived into paying a hacked invoice with altered account details. Investors were expecting more out of Westpac though, shares down more than 3%, with the losses spreading across the big four banks. ANZ and NAB also report this week. Energy stocks were also hit today. The likes of Santos and Woodside down almost 4%. Qantas, though, was higher. That's as the oil price tumbled 4.7% since this time Friday. Brent now below $60 a barrel to a 4-year low. It comes as OPEC plus nations agreed to raise output despite an uncertain economic outlook.
Well, it's supply and demand double whammy. The demand's an obvious one. We've been talking about it for months now, that the trade war, US trade policy is a very significant risk to global economic activity. And despite the fact that we've seen a bounce back in equity prices, if you look outside of equities, the financial world is riddled with signals that the global economy is going to slow down. The question is to what degree.
It should be good news for motorists, which saw petrol prices rise only slightly last week, up 0.1% for a litre of unleaded nationally. That's according to the Institute of Petroleum. So, by the close, the Australian share market finished 1% lower, snapping a 5-day winning streak, with all 11 sectors finishing in the red. The Australian dollar touched a 2025 high, surging to just below 65 US cents. NAB economists say it could reach 70 US cents by the end of the year. It's also stronger against the other major global currencies. Sales of electric car maker Tesla continues to fall, with just 500 deliveries into Australia last month. This time last year, there were nearly 2,100. The Electric Vehicle Council, which only monitors Tesla and Polestar sales, says all up there was a 68% decline. The Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries, meanwhile, which counts everything else, says new vehicle sales dropped almost 7%. It blames a sharp decline in sales of plug-in hybrid vehicles following the removal of the fringe benefit tax exemption at the end of March. Well, Donald Trump says he is seeking to breathe life back into the Hollywood film industry by imposing 100% tariffs on movies produced outside the United States. Research company ProdPro says there's been a near 40% decrease in US film activity over the first half of last year compared with peak 2022 levels, and around 16% globally. As for what the tariff could mean for the industry here, local experts are in the dark.
It takes a lot to shut down the Sydney Harbour Bridge. A Hollywood heartthrob filming the latest blockbuster will do the trick. Big-time movies like The Fall Guy or the Mad Max prequel Furiosa, with Aussie export Chris Hemsworth choosing Australia as the place to film, not just because of the stunning backdrops, but because of the competitive production industry and government incentives.
We've come too far.
But President Donald Trump has called that's a wrap, announcing 100% tariffs on all movies produced outside the US, accusing other countries from stealing the industry away from Hollywood.
We should have a tariff on movies that come in. And not only that, governments are actually giving big money. I mean, they're supporting them financially. So that's sort of a threat to our country in a sense.
There's little detail on what could be an exceptionally hard industry to tax. Attaching tariffs to services and the arts is going off script.
We have not seen tariffs imposed on cultural products and on films pretty much ever, and for a good reason, because it is hard to understand what is domestic production and what is not.
Like the case of Universal's The Fall Guy. It was produced by the Australian arm of an American company.
To be subject to a tariff or not, it generates revenue and an employment in Australia, but still it's American intellectual property.
The Home Affairs Minister says nobody should be under any doubt that we will be standing up unequivocally for the rights of the Australian screen industry. Hours before the announcement, the White House tweeted this AI image of the president to mark Star Wars Fan Day, May the 4th, a film franchise shot in countries like the UK and Tunisia. Georgia Marr, SBS World News.
And from today, there are new safety rules which retailers will have to abide by to alert consumers to the potential of toppling furniture. Now, these include permanent warning labels, hazard information in-store and online, and advice on how to secure furniture to the wall or ground for items like drawers, wardrobes, bookcases and entertainment units, for example. There are penalties of up to $50 million for businesses which don't comply. The ACCC says it's a harm minimisation strategy. At least 28 people, mostly children under 5, have died from toppling furniture, Janice, since the year 2000.